This is the third video out of 3 for January 5th, 6th, and potentially January 10th if you are 3B or 4B. If you haven't watched the first 2 videos, go back and look at those. Also, it's going to still be beneficial to have those formulas on the side so we can refer to them. One last piece of calculating, and then we're going to go over 2 of these, and that'll be it. Tangent of 195. So the tangent formula is a little bit different than the sine and cosine, but we're going to see how we can use it and simplify. So here we need to figure out what are 2 numbers, 2 degrees that are on our unit circle that add to give us 195. And what we talked about in class, what was beneficial is to use potentially 60 and 135. So because 60 and 135 equals 195, then we can use these 2 values into our formula and simplify. So this will equal tangent of 60 degrees plus 135 degrees. So again, with the tangent formula, we need to be careful to understand how to use it. So what this would become is tangent of 60. Since it's addition here, now we're looking at the top. Addition here, addition on top there, so plus tangent of 135 over 1. Now what's on top here is a minus sign, so it'd be minus tangent of 60 tangent of 135. Okay. Now to further simplify, we need to figure out what these 2 values are. I'm going to do that on the side. Tangent of 60 degrees, we know is the same thing as tangent of pi over 3. You can convert that, or if you have your unit circle, you can figure that out. And we know to figure out tangent, you do sine divided by cosine. So the sine at pi over 3 would be square root of 3 over 2. And we're dividing that by cosine, which is 1/2. I'm going to do this quickly because we've done this for a long time now. But tangent of 60 would be square root of 3. So we can replace tangent of 60 with square root of 3. Now let's try to figure out tangent of 135. So tangent of 135, that's going to be equal to tangent at 3 pi over 4. Sine at 3 pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. We're dividing by negative square root of 2 over 2. So essentially we have something divided by itself with one of those things being negative. So that would be negative 1. So this would be plus negative 1 times negative 1. And now we can simplify. Square root of 3 plus negative 1 plus a negative, we can just write that as minus 1. And then here, if you want to think of it as square root of 3 times negative 1, that would give you negative square root of 3. But if you're minusing a negative, subtracting a negative, we could turn that to 1 plus square root of 3. We're going to leave that as is for now. Eventually we're going to simplify that further by conjugating. We don't need to worry about that right now. We can leave that there in simplified form. Okay. So it's similar to sine and cosine formulas, but there's 2 plus or minuses in tangent. You just need to be careful and understand how to get tangent from the unit circle to fully simplify. So be careful with your tangent values, if you will. Now, last piece, we're going to go over 2 of these, and then I'll give you the answer to the third and let you try that on your own. But now we have this pattern. We can't evaluate this as is. Pi over 8, 3 pi over 8, they're not on our unit circle. However, it would be great if we could use one of the formulas to simplify this, and it turns out we can. Notice here, if you notice there's a pattern, sine, cosine, cosine, sine. Also, you have pi over 8 there, pi over 8 here. 3 pi over 8 here, 3 pi over 8 there. This follows the sine formula. this is actually sine of alpha plus beta equals this, where pi over 8 is alpha and 3 pi over 8 is beta. So what we can do is kind of work in reverse. What this would become is sine of pi over 8 plus 3 pi over 8, because that's our beta. Now we're adding fractions. In order to add fractions, you need a common denominator. We have that here. So this would be sine of 4 pi over 8. Pi plus 3 pi is 4 pi. And now we can simplify this. 4 pi over 8. 4 over 8 simplifies as a fraction to pi over 2. Now hopefully this is helpful, and it is, because pi over 2 falls on our unit circle. So now we can find sine of pi over 2 by looking at our unit circle, and we see that sine of pi over 2 is 1. So here we're using the formula in reverse, noticing that we can see a pattern, recognize it, simplify. I'm actually going to let you try to do the next two on your own. This one you'll use cosine. I'm not going to tell you what, but that should equal 1/2. And then similar thing here, you're going to use cosine again. Be careful with the positive and negative. Cosine of something, and this one should equal negative square root of 3 over 2. Here you don't need to find a common denominator, because you'll have that when you add or subtract here. Here you will. Here you will need one. So just keep that in mind when you simplify those. Hopefully this is helpful. If you have questions, please ask me. Yeah. And homework, please come see me to figure out what the homework will be. If you have questions on that, please ask me about that as well.